I have known men to hazard their fortunes, go long journeys halfway about the world, forget friendships, even lie, cheat, and steal, all for the gain of a book. A.S.W. Rosenbach.
To put your hands on one of these editions, to actually touch a piece of leather, a leather-bound book that was touched by somebody in the time in which it was printed, is a sort of visceral and extraordinary experience. It's why places like the Rosenbach are so essential.
In a quaint residential neighborhood in the heart of historic Philadelphia stand two townhomes that house an astounding treasure. The rare book and manuscript collection of renowned early 20th century book dealer A.S.W. Rosenbach is here. Rosenbach and his brother Philip left to the public their home and a book collection spanning 8 centuries. The Rosenbach's collection is astounding, and it is open to all.
I think a lot of us don't have a ton of time or space in our lives to engage really deeply with books and with history. So a place like the Rosenbach that offers this amazing historic house, that has these amazing collections, and also has this community that is built around shared interest in these objects and these texts, feels like a real treat and a real treasure.
After love, book collecting is the most exhilarating sport of all. On the 3rd floor, in Dr. Rosenbach's historic library, the setting for a Rosenbach-led book club is enriched by a backdrop of sumptuous leather-bound volumes, a craft of centuries past that gives these readers nostalgia for a time before mass-produced books and digital downloads.
First published in 1897 by Constable in 3,000 copies, with beautiful yellow covers with the red lettering on it.
But this historic setting is now the backdrop for discussions of a very contemporary nature. Here, a group gathers around a table, delving into a contemporary novel about contemporary themes. The novel they are discussing harkens back to one of the greatest Gothic novels of all time, Bram Stoker's Dracula, the notes for which are right here in this library, and the group has just had a close-up look.
Your girls that you all love are mine already, and through them you and others shall yet be mine, my creatures, to do my bidding and to be my jackals when I want to feed. Dracula by Bram Stoker.
To see some of the manuscript notes for Dracula, so to kind of get that peek into the thought process and to see the characters that he'd been thinking about early in the process of writing the novel, which wasn't called Dracula at the time, to see who got cut, what kinds of changes were made. I mean, that's just, for somebody who studied Victorian literature and absolutely loves that novel, it was such a treat.
You can see, enjoy, and even touch historic treasures like Dracula, the manuscript of James Joyce's Ulysses, the illuminated Canterbury Tales manuscript by Chaucer, and Phillis Wheatley's poems, just to name a few. Here, the physical touch of historic materials is transformative, even transcendental. And using great care, staff encourage visitors to touch and, yes, even smell the books and manuscripts.
And that's a sort of extraordinary, visceral experience. It's not simply sort of academic interest, it's a human interest, because fingerprints, 200-year-old fingerprints, have been on that very book. And that's why those places are sort of magic kingdoms for us who love old books.
Here is the first book printed in British North America in 1640, the Bay Psalm book. And this group is looking at its original leather cover. Each person who has held this book owns a part of its history and is connected to every person who has held it before them. Each person who reads its contents adds their own understanding and experience to the story. And that is what connects we who are alive in the 21st century to the person who first held this book in the mid-17th.
There is no greater way to be in touch with a writer, first, than seeing the first edition of the book, and second, what's the glory of the Rosenbach, by seeing the manuscripts and seeing Joyce's left-hand margins that go like that right across the page, because that's when you really feel in touch with the writer.
Taking leave of those we esteem is, in my opinion, unpleasant. The parting of friends is a kind of temporary mourning. Charles Ignatius Sancho.
When I come to this house in Strathmere, Rosenbach's shore home, I think it sort of takes me back to thinking about why people come to the Rosenbach. I'm just wondering, do you remember what it is that drew you to the Rosenbach for the first time?
For people who like the written word, seeing these things alive, if you will, and being able to touch them, to feel them, to experience them is phenomenal. We have a first edition Don Quixote in the collection. And, you know, being a Spaniard, and Don Quixote is such a phenomenal novel. And when you think about, geez, this has been around for more than 400 years, and the staff lets you touch it.
Yes.
Which is unbelievable,
right?
And so that's a unique feeling.
You do not have to physically visit the Rosenbach to be captivated by its treasures. There are numerous ways for people from all over the world to enjoy this collection and the community that has grown up around it. Indeed, virtual Rosenbach reading courses are offered every season on literary and historical topics.
My name is Wesley Stace, and today I'll be reading from chapter 14 of Ulysses, Oxen of the Sun, we were having 30, 40 people at a time with their little faces on a Zoom camera. It was just an amazing coming together of people to talk about, in one case, David Copperfield, in the next case, Anthony Pole's Dance to the Music of Time, and right now I'm in the middle of my favorite book, Tristram Shandy.
Taught by university professors and leaders in their fields, courses are the best way to delve into a particular book or author with expert instruction and an intimate community of people to read alongside. Free programming including Biblioventures, a virtual and interactive talk show which gathers hundreds together for a live and lively annotation of works by Mary Shelley, Jane Austen, Arthur Conan Doyle, and Charlotte Bronte, to name a few.
The first time I was involved with the Rosenbach was for your amazing all-day Bloomsday reading, which I've done a few times over the years.
And there ought to be women priests that would understand without your telling out. And Sissy Caffrey, too, sometimes had that dreamy look. Dreamy look in her eyes, so that she too, my dear, and Winnie Rippingham, so mad about actors' photographs. And besides, it was a count on that other thing coming on the way it did.
It's one of the nicest things that happens in Philadelphia on a sunny day in your beautiful street here, and everybody there just for that. That's an incredible thing.
That is something that the Rosenbach, I think, does really well, is we bring people together to dialogue about a book or an author. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, but we have the advantage that we have the collection.
Yes.
Because if we didn't have the collection, it would be a book club. And book clubs are great, but they're not the Rosenbach. You know, we have a community of people who like this stuff,
Right.
but then they can see it, they can touch it, and we have the credibility that comes with that, right? And the two things combined make a very powerful experience.
I knew that Mr. Edward would do, and I was certain he would not wait long neither. And he's done it right, for aught I know. I wish you joy, miss. And he politely pulled his forelock. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte.
The Rosenbach Museum and Library presents Sherlock Mondays, hosted by Edward G. Pettit.
The Rosenbach podcast, which you can listen to anywhere, anytime, brings you stories about this incredible collection to your ear no matter where you are or what you're doing. What was once a collection only seen by those who visited on site and by those who already knew it was here is now something that can, figuratively, leave the confines of these walls and travel to any ear that is ready to listen.
This is episode 17, The Adventure of Silver Blaze. And joining me as co-host is Monica Schmidt. Hi, Monica.
I think a lot of cultural institutions and libraries are struggling with how to make our collections visible and how to make them accessible and engaging. I think the Rosenbach's programs are a way to reach out into the community and offer something that is not just underpinned by expertise and amazing historical objects, but also feels really fun.
Very young children eat their books, literally devouring their contents. This is one reason for the scarcity of first editions of Alice in Wonderland and other favorites of the nursery.
It happens to everybody. Remember when we hosted Joanne Freeman from Yale University? She's the world's expert on Alexander Hamilton. And that was an obscure subject until a musical made it big, right? And she was shown the first edition we have of the Federalist Papers. And the first one is written by Hamilton. I mean, she was practically in tears looking at the original of the Federalist Papers. So I think that's the kind of emotional connection and emotional impact you can have.
I asked him with my eyes to ask again, yes.
And then he asked me, would I say yes? To say yes, my mountain flower.
First, I put my arms around him, yes.
I drew him down to me so he could feel my breasts, all perfume.
Yes, and his heart was going like mad. And yes, I said, yes, I will. Yes.
Ulysses by James Joyce.
The Rosenbach collection is broad enough and deep enough to appeal to anyone who has an interest in literature, history, the art of the written word, and the beauty of the book as an art object. What the Rosenbach offers is a gratifying throwback to the past, and in a world where beautifully printed books are more and more a novelty, it offers an escape from the rigors of daily life. But the Rosenbach is also a gathering place and a forum for the most contemporary dialogue, where people can learn about and critically engage with the stories and artifacts of history, enjoy and be inspired by the art of the written word, and cultivate an awareness and understanding of the world and of our shared humanity.
This bottle of port, you can see it is from 1904. This past summer, I was at the Library Company, our peer organization down the street, and the librarian, Jim Green, said he had something to show me, and he took me back to his office, and he pulled off of his desk this bottle of port. And he said, this bottle was given to me by Edwin Wolff, the former director of the Library Company and colleague to Dr. Rosenbach. Edwin was given this bottle by Dr. Rosenbach. First, I thought we might take a sip, but I'm not so sure that's a good idea, but I'm at least gonna pour some out and just to see what it looks like, and maybe we can take a sniff.
Yeah, and maybe we can toast Dr. Rosenbach.
Does it smell bad? Does it smell like vinegar?
I'm not sure I'm going to drink it without my taster around.
It actually doesn't smell that bad.
Yeah.
I thought it would smell...
Well, but it's a great excuse to propose a toast to the wonderful history of the Rosenbach, its treasures, and to the phenomenal future we have ahead as we continue working together.
Cheers.
Cheers.